Still leather hard after 2 years. So it's been 2 years since I first put the vessels into this bin because I didn't have time to work on them. Look what they look like now. You can see mold growing on in there. Still leather hard after 2 years. A lot of potters are terrified of plaster being around their pottery, around their clay, and so they never use it. But my experience is plaster is a potter's best friend. So I poured this thin plaster layer, it's about 2 inches thick, maybe 1.5 inches thick, on the bottom here, and then I just poured a little bit of water. After it had dried, everything is flat, I poured a little bit of water in here, and I sealed the lid. Now this was back a few years ago when I was just experimenting with making molds. So you can actually see mold growing on these cast forms. I have not messed with this, and this is just amazing to me. Having a plaster bin like this where you can store unfinished pottery and work it later, I think it's a must. Here's how you make it. Step 1 is we mix the plaster. Plaster mixes at roughly 7 parts water to 10 parts plaster, and you always want to mix the plaster into the water. Be sure to wear a mask anytime you're mixing plaster. You don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Stir for a little bit, usually wait about 10-15 minutes before it sets. But in this case, because it's a rubber bin, you can just pour it directly in there. You don't really have to wait a long time. So you're going to want to put a little bit of tape anywhere where there's a hole where moisture or humidity could drain out. Next, we wait for 5 days, maybe as many as 7, for this to thoroughly dry. Okay, now we're ready to hydrate the plaster at the bottom of this. Take a cup of water, pour a few in there, and wait. The plaster acts like a sponge, soaking up the water. Now, as we shut the lid, it will keep all that water and humidity in this bin for a long time. Okay, now you're ready to go. When you finish working on your vessels, if you don't have time to finish them or handle them or whatever right away, put them in this bin, close the lid, come back to it later when you have time to finish. This type of a plaster bin situation should be good for weeks, months, or even years of keeping your vessels workable. My name's MJ at Outpost Pottery. Thanks for watching and keep on learning.